Hi everyone, this is Paul here from the Magdalene Centre. Today I'm doing an astrology report for the week commencing the 4th of April. We're outlining some of the key aspects and transits taking place this week and giving you an overview of what it all means. Before I do that, I just want to clarify, as I always do, that the astrology doesn't control our lives. It merely gives us a frame to help us understand what is unfolding around us. It helps us to understand what are the key areas of growth presented to us at this time if we're going with the natural flow of events. And it kind of outlines how we can best use the energy at this time to maximise our personal growth. But for anything to actually change, it requires that we participate in the process, i.e. we take action, and it's also important that we allow wisdom to guide our action rather than just doing off blind impulse. Now, in terms of the astrology this week, I'll begin with the moon's transit as usual. So we start off with the moon in Pisces. So this is a time where we may feel that connection to the universal, and it's a time which is often conducive for things like meditation, working on unconditional love and compassion, and it's learning to open the heart in the face of suffering rather than close it. On Thursday, the moon will enter Aries, so this will be a time where you may feel that drive to take action. We may feel that fire of desire flare up within us that makes us want to take action and make things happen. And this continues into Friday, when we've got the new moon in Aries, which I'll go into more detail on that in a separate video. But the new moon in Aries gives us an opportunity to set new intentions in areas related to Aries, whether it be having the courage to take action or cultivating courage, boldness, and a willingness to face our fears, whether it's about asserting our own sense of self-identity or trying to use this time to start new beginnings that help us to explore ourselves or learn new things about ourselves that we haven't discovered yet, and require us to go outside of our comfort zone in order to discover these aspects of ourselves. And this may also be a time of letting go of any tendencies towards self-absorption. But as I said, I'll go into more detail on that in a separate video. The moon will then move into Taurus on Saturday, so this is a time where it's a good time for getting connected with our own bodies, and we may feel the desire to spend time in nature to ground all that fiery energy out and to kind of release some of the tension in the body. It's also time for slowing right down and seeking to connect with natural cycles and do things one step at a time rather than racing ahead to try and make things happen faster than they're supposed to. And then on Monday, the moon will enter Gemini, so this would be a time where we feel that need to kind of connect with people, and it's also a good time for networking and seeking to expand our awareness through research or for doing any kind of communication with other people. Now, in terms of other aspects taking place this week, on Wednesday, Vesta is moving into Aries, so she's been in Pisces for the past few weeks, and this has been a time where we may have had to face any tendencies where we engage in martyrdom, but this is also the time where we may have felt that desire to be of service. Now with Vesta moving into Aries, this is more about devotion to self and the need for personal autonomy and independence. So this may be a time where we may feel that desire to kind of focus on asserting our own needs and also pursuing our own goals or our own ideas without necessarily feeling the need to receive aid from other people. What we do need to be mindful of in the process, though, is that we don't alienate other people, or we don't become so focused on what we're doing for our own sake that we don't leave any space in our lives for the importance in relationships. So it's important we always have that balance so that we don't wear ourselves out or we don't inadvertently burn bridges. So making sure that we remember our key relationships in life is a key part of making sure that when we are focused on our goals, we don't do it at the detriment of other people. On Thursday, the sun is going to be trine to Ceres, or Ceres, however you want to pronounce it, but this is an aspect that gives us an opportunity to develop a stronger nurturing capacity. So whether it's nurturing ourselves in order to nurture other people, and it's about that dedication to providing that love and support in an unconditional manner for other people, and there's that devotion to helping other people nurture their own desires or nurture their own ambitions and to nurture that person's self-expression. And then on the same day we will also have Mars sextile to Chiron. So this is an aspect. Chiron is in Mars' sign of Aries, so this aspect gives us an opportunity to see where do we need to become more conscious of how a wound to the sense of self-identity impacts our capacity to take action. So do we have a fear of taking action, or do we struggle to assert ourselves, and to the point where we tend to hide our own, like we avoid asserting ourselves when we need to be in order to avoid being walked all over. So this is an aspect that gives us an opportunity to reflect on this, but it's up to, as usual, it's up to us to actually utilise it. With it being a sextile, it requires our conscious participation. It's not some of the aspects where we feel it more readily. Then, as I've mentioned earlier, we have the new moon on Friday. The next aspects after that will be on Monday. So Ceres is turning retrograde on Monday, and she's going to be retrograde in Sagittarius up until the 17th of July. So we've got about 3.5 months with this particular retrograde, and this is a time for going inwards and looking at, are we nurturing ourselves enough? So Ceres is more about that unconditional love and support and that desire to nurture other people, and it represents the mother archetype or the mother relationship in terms of feminine relationships. But in order for us to be able to nurture other people unconditionally, we must first know how to do it for ourselves. And with Ceres and Sagittarius, it's about looking at the belief systems that we hold and looking at our perception of the world around us, and it's seeing, are we able to nurture our minds in a way that allows them to be open to new experiences, to expand our physical and mental and spiritual horizons? Or do we struggle to feel any kind of nurture in that respect, or we struggle to see any kind of meaning in life, and therefore we're not able to provide that kind of nurturing where we encourage other people to always be looking to grow from situations and to learn to believe that everything happens for a reason, or everything holds a lesson for us if we're prepared to slow down enough or be humble enough to acknowledge it, especially when things aren't going according to plan. And it's time to look at, do our beliefs give us that sense of meaning in life, or do we have that nihilistic perception where we believe everything is meaningless and often potentially sink into depression as a result of it? On the same day, Saturn is going to be square to Pallas Athena, so this is a time where we need to be looking at, do we experience some kind of blockage in terms of our willingness to create? Do we have this internal conflict between pragmatism, Saturn, and our desire to unlock our creative potentials, which is Pallas Athena? And it's looking to overcome this. So for any creative project to manifest, as it will, for any creative endeavour to become reality, we do need Saturn's discipline. But it's about bringing the two into balance. So it's not dismissing creative ideas because it doesn't seem practical. It's instead seeing, how can we make a creative idea practical? How can we achieve it in a practical way? So it's learning to bring the two aspects together. And then the following day we have the Sun exactly opposite Pallas Athena retrograde. So this is the midpoint of the Pallas Athena retrograde. So this is essentially the opposition between self and other. With Pallas, it's also a time where a seed of a new beginning, as it were, in terms of Pallas is sown. And with Pallas in Libra, the kind of wisdom she's trying to teach us is about that seeking the balancing or reconciling of opposites. So it's overcoming polarities and bringing the yin-yang balance together. So it's balancing masculine and feminine energies within us. This then enables us to balance or achieve balanced connection in the world around us. But if we don't have that inner balance, then we experience the conflict externally. And it's also about learning the wisdom of balance. So do we recognise the need to reconcile things and keep everything working together and get everything working in a complementary way rather than a contradictory, and recognising that everything is about balancing opposites. It's about recognising when we're facing something that we haven't dealt with, and it's internalizing it so that we can achieve an inner balance, so we're not pulled out of peace, or we're not pulled out of our own inner peace. And it's also about remembering that tact and diplomacy can go a long way to avoiding unnecessary conflicts when we're trying to pursue new goals or figure out who we are. So there's quite a lot going on this week, but a lot of it is about new beginnings, but it's also a time for reflection in terms of how we nurture ourselves. And it's also, this is a week to figure out what goals, if we haven't already figured out what goals we are, this is a good time to set them. And this is also time to look at what qualities do we need to cultivate internally to give us the best chance of pursuing our goals, and what fears do we need to overcome in the process, and where do our belief systems need to be transformed if they're the kind of beliefs that limit us or prevent us from pursuing the goals that deep down we know that we have the capacity to achieve. So may this week bring you many new exciting opportunities, may bring you an opportunity to start new beginnings in life, and to make the most of the new moon this week. And may this be a time for developing a greater understanding of the self and capacity to nurture ourselves through empowering beliefs, so that we are able to help ourselves in terms of our own goals, but also better able to nurture other people and better able to show them how to broaden their perspectives and allow consciousness to guide them, rather than floundering around relying on logic or any kind of reasoning which may actually be faulty. So may this week bring you many blessings. Take care.